Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we're talking about some changes to some upcoming ships, the Brisbane and the Z42 of note. But before we get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind dropping a like and leaving a comment down below to appease the algorithm overlords. Appeasing the algorithm is what one must do if one wants to YouTube with any success. So if you guys wouldn't mind helping me out by dropping a like and leaving a comment down below, the algorithm likes to see that type of interaction and it pushes the video out to the people that have actually subscribed to the channel. It's wonderful how it works. But anyway, on to today's DevBlog. So this was released the day that I am recording this, on the 27th. If you wish to follow along as I read aloud, link to this will be in the description down below. But let's go ahead and get on into it. So they say, changes to test ships 12.0 closed testing. Based on testing results, we're applying changes to Brisbane, Z42, Nebraska, Louisiana, Alliance, and Dupleix. So the Brisbane's up first. This is the Australian Minotaur that can fire HE. So for the Brisbane, the torpedo range was increased from 12.5 to 13.5 kilometers. Recently, she had just gotten nerfed her reload time on her main battery guns from, I believe, 4.5 seconds to 6 seconds. Yes. So that was a pretty big nerf to her DPM, and it seems that they're trying to compensate that by extending her torpedo range by a kilometer here. Up next, we have the Z42. This is the German Harugumo, if you will. She has, I believe, 10 105mm guns. And again, it's German Harugumo. And the Z42 was nerfed super hard last time we talked about her. So they are increasing her torpedo range as well, from 7.5 kilometers to 10 kilometers flat. Now, the Z42, the last time we spoke about her, like I mentioned, she was nerfed incredibly hard. Her main battery reload time was increased from 3.1 to 4.5 seconds, and her detection range was pushed from 7.2 to 7.6 kilometers. Then her torpedoes got hit very hard. The range was decreased from 10 to 7.5. The speed was reduced from 66 to 62 knots. The detection range was buffed from 1.8 to 1.3 kilometers. But then the damage was reduced from 18,400 to 13,700. So that's a lot that got changed on this ship in one DevBlog or one test cycle. Now, it seems that they've clearly realized this because the Nerf notification DevBlog came out, I believe, late November. November 30th. So from 1 month from this DevBlog where they nerfed the living crap out of the Z42 to now, they kind of realized that it gave her back her 10 kilometer torps. So now this means you will be able to stealth torp with her again. Is it enough to make this ship worth picking up? Because this ship should be coming out. I've heard rumors that apparently she's coming out for the not the November update, for the January update, which should be like mid-January, late January-ish, because the dev team kind of takes a long holiday for New Year's. That's their big break. So the January update's normally a mid to late January update. So it's coming soon that this ship is going to get released. Now, do keep in mind too, with 105mm guns, they do have the improved HE pins, so you will have to take IFHE to get them pinning what you need them to pin at higher tier, which of course cuts back on her fire chance. And then they also, I mean, her DPM is still nerfed from 3.1 to 4.5 seconds. That's a big nerf on a ship like this. So I don't think it's enough really to make her more appealing. Like, it's nice that her torpedoes have their range back, but 10 kilometer torps at tier 10, that's still on the shorter side, and they still lost like 5,000 alpha. So I don't know. I think she might need a slight DPM buff on her guns, or her torpedoes, they would need to buff their damage up a little bit more to make it appealing. So yeah, although this has taken her from for me to kind of like, okay, maybe. So it's a good thing that she's been buffed, but we'll see what she's like. Because again, this is probably, I mean, if that's true that she's coming out in the mid-January patch, this is probably the last change that we're going to see to her before her release, unless they do, you know, one of those crazy last-minute changes like they did with ships like the Odin and the Graf Zeppelin, both which didn't go over well with the community, but we'll see. Although, again, it has made her a little bit more attractive to me. Alright, the Nebraska, which is the Tier 8 Abomination American battleship. This is the hybrid line. They're half carriers, half battleship. I should be throwing up an image of her on screen right now. Main battery firing range with researchable gunfire control module reduced from 22.7 to 21 kilometers. So they nerfed the Nebraska's range, which is weird. As I'm sure most of you that play the American battleship line know, their shells are terrible at that range. Well, I mean, they're not terrible if they connect. It's getting them to connect at that range, because the Tier 8 battleships usually have the 45 caliber 16-inch gun, which means that the shells only have a velocity of 702 meters a second, which of course means that they're very slow, and with the air drag coefficient of the American Mark 8 AP shell, it decelerates very fastly, and it just stays in the air forever. So most American battleships, their prime range is like 16 kilometers in. Like, yes, the shells can go out to 22 kilometers. Good luck hitting anything. I just find that's funny with that they're nerfing that on the Nebraska. And the Nebraska only has turrets in the front as well. So, yeah, interesting change there. Then speaking of abominations and disappointments, my state ship, the Louisiana. I'm still very upset, and I am going to say this every time I talk about the Louisiana, that this is the ship that my state's getting when the Louisiana was commissioned as a Montana class, and we're getting this weird hybrid carrier battleship thing with a weird looking quad turret in the back, rather than a Montana class. They could have, you know, given it the Massachusetts treatment, made it a secondary ship, or just something like that, but nope, this is what we get. Anyway, change the parameters of the bomber squadron attacks. Planes' maneuverability during the preparation to attack and when attacking is increased by 33%. And then the bomb's minimum dispersion reduced by 50%. So, if I'm reading that correctly and interpreting that correctly, of course the planes are getting more maneuverable, but then the minimum dispersion reduced by 50%. I'm assuming that means that the reticle is, you know, shrunken by 50% to where they have a tighter grouping. Now, I'm not a CC, I'm not a super tester, so I haven't actually played the Louisiana, so I can't talk about what the reticle's like, nor anyone that has played it can talk about that, because, you know, NDAs are cool. So, I'm assuming that's what that means. So, it sounds like they're buffing the planes by quite a bit, which is, And I've seen Louisiana in game, and she does seem to perform very well. It didn't appear like the couple of guys that I saw playing it, at least, had many problems with the dive bombers and getting them on target consistently. But again, those just could have been some highly skilled players that I saw with the Louisiana. But yeah, I mean, given that these ships have aircraft, like I talked about the Kearsarge, they're going to be pretty good, consistent damage dealers anyway. The American guns are excellent. Unless they gave them some really wonky characteristics. If they just kind of, you know, just went with the flow with how American guns normally are with the battleships, they should be fine. And then they have aircraft on top of that, so they can get good, consistent damage throughout the match, like I talked about with the Kearsarge. So, yeah, this is just going to make this ship even crazier. And again, if what I've seen in game is anything to go by, then shoot, Louisiana looks like it's going to be a very powerful Tier 10 once it gets released. I think these guys are going to early access, I think, next patch, because the next patch, the Japanese light cruisers are coming out, and I think these guys are going to early access, so we'll get to see what those are like then. Alright, everyone's favorite class, submarines. The Alliance, which is the Tier 8 British sub, change parameters of acoustic homing torps. Maximum damage increased from 5,000 to 5,700. Chance to cause flooding reduced, from 77 to 29%. 25%. That's a big nerf. The alternative torps, which these are the unguided torpedoes, the dummy fire torps, maximum damage increase from 9,867 to 11,000 damage. Chance to cause flooding reduced from 75 to 63%. So not quite the nerf to the flooding chance with the dummy torps, but a pretty nice damage pickup there with the dummy torps. When I play subs, granted, the only submarine I really play a lot of is I-56 because it's really not a sub, it's just a slightly different shimakaze. I don't even like using the homing torpedoes because the target knows that you're pinging them. The unguided torps, they don't know. It's just like playing a DD, so that's pretty good. But again, I don't really only play the I-56, and it's got a ridiculously fast reload time on the torpedoes anyway. And then the French cruiser, the Dupleix, or the Dupleix, as I like to call her. Yes, I know it's not duplex, but hey, funny. Alright, main battery firing range reduced from 16.9 to 15.5 kilometers. Detectability range by ships increased from 12.1 to 13.8. Oh, that's rough. Detectability range after firing main gun to smoke increased from 7.1 to 8.5 kilometers. That is, wow. I guess the Dupleix was doing a little bit too good. The Dupleix is basically a tier 6 French cruiser with actual armor. As I'm sure most of you know, the mid-tier ships, the cruisers especially, they kind of just explode when you look at them. But this one actually had armor. So I guess, you know, the gimmick is that the ship has armor. So they can't really do much about that. So they're nerfing the other parameters of the ship accordingly. Which, man, that detection nerf is a bit rough. Especially because, you know, tier 6 ships, they can't really build too much into that because of the modules and all that jazz. But, yeah, alright. So that is what was announced in this devblog. Overall, it was quite a few buffs to two highly anticipated ships, the Brisbane and the Z42. I'm looking forward to both of those ships highly, and I do hope that what I've heard is true, that they're coming out next patch. Z42, I still think she needs a little bit more love, like we discussed, but again, we'll see what happens if she is coming out this soon. So guys, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and hope to catch you guys in the next one.